And thank you, Troy, for letting us use this space, of course. This space actually has some sentimental value because I actually proposed to Rachel in this room in summer of 2014. She's a big classical music fan, and I got a string quartet to play in here and sort of surprised her on the way around. And so it's nice to be back in the space. The floors are totally redone, it looks like. A quick housekeeping, the sign-in sheet if you haven't already, of course, and then you'll find a couple handouts that go over the zoning for this neighborhood and then what the proposed zoning is and the permitted uses. And then some comment cards. If any of you don't feel like getting up and speaking up in front of people or asking questions, you can use the comment card and submit it to us, and we can talk to you one-on-one and what have you. And then lastly, we're trying to do a YouTube live stream. I don't know if it's going to work, but
one person's watching.
That's you.
Okay.
But you can always look back on it and have a record of it, and see it later on. My contact info should be on the letter that I think many of you received that we tried to distribute by hand on Sunday and mailed beforehand. There's a copy of it as well at the front, so you can keep that and get more information and have my contact info to get a hold of me, and you can stay in touch about the project and updates and all that good stuff. So I want to get to your questions, of course, as soon as possible, and your concerns. So I will try to make the presentation side of this as short and sweet as possible. The reason I'm the one standing and talking and not Rachel is this would sort of be more my baby. Rachel she's a medical speech pathologist at University Medical Center across the way, so she sort of has her career. I'm the bartender. I bartend at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in the CBD 5 times a week, so I'm the hospitality guy, and the idea would be for me to transition into this and take on this coffee shop and go that route. So that's why I'm the one talking. A little background on who we are and what we're up to. Rachel and I are both originally from Indiana. We fell in love with this city a couple years ago, and we've been property owners in this neighborhood since 2014. And our intention for the longest time was to try to build our house on the lot next door to this lot in question, this corner lot. We had been in touch to try to see if there was a way for us to own that corner lot someday for over 2 years of emails and back and forth, and never thought it was possible, but fortunately a few months ago we were able to come into ownership of the lot, and then the wheels started turning, and we were thinking, okay, well maybe we can build our house as we had planned, but maybe have a little business downstairs, since there had been murmurs of, well, there used to be something there. And so as I mentioned in the letter, and as Belinda actually told me at the beginning of this meeting, there was a bar room most recently where you had your wedding reception or some sort of bridal shower there. But I went to the public library and pored over old editions of the city directory, and I mean, sure enough, the commercial history goes all the way back to the turn of the century. It was a grocery store for many decades. It was a restaurant. It was a Black Fox Lodge. And then ultimately a bar room before, as I understand it, the building was demolished in the late 90s. So if the building had still been standing, the process would be much simpler. We would have a pathway to be grandfathered into commercial use. But because the lot has been vacant ever since it was torn down, it's a bit more of an involved process. We have to go through an official change of use. And so that's why we're doing this neighborhood participation meeting today, to sort of get everybody up to speed and address any concerns and answer any questions before we're able to move forward and formally submit our application to the city planners. So we had a little back and forth, as far as what might make sense on that corner for a business, something that there would be a market for and that would, be sustainable and actually be a business that would stay above ground, but also something that is sort of within our realms or my realm. So immediately my mind jumped to hospitality. Trying to do a full-fledged restaurant, I think there's just a lot of moving parts and it's a bit daunting. So a coffee shop seemed a little bit more streamlined. It's not something that we really seem to have, sort of a coffee shop of our own in this neighborhood. I know there's the Treme Coffee House across the way, and then the other nearest one is in the other direction, I think, Fairgrinds on St. Claude. But as far as, kind of a place in the neighborhood between St. Bernard and Elysian Fields and Claiborne and St. Claude, there's really nothing like that. So we thought it's something that people would be interested in. We started kind of bringing it up to folks in the neighborhood to get some feedback, and people seem supportive. So that's when we decided to formally take on the process and see if this is something we can make happen. So what we have in mind, again, the lot is vacant. We would need to build from scratch. But basically, a two-story structure, a corner store style structure that all of you have seen. I mean, they're on every other corner of this city. You know, the corner entrance, to have the business downstairs, and then some residential upstairs.
We're in one right now.
Yeah, exactly. Basically this. To where we would live upstairs and then hopefully be able to have an additional residential unit that we could rent out and help offset the cost of construction and all that good stuff. So in terms of scale, this isn't something that I wanted that was brought up, but I just wanted to put it out there. I think when people think of a residentially zoned property getting rezoned for commercial, they think maybe it's going to be much more intensive allowances for construction. Maybe all of a sudden it's going to open the doors to a high rise or something like that. And so I just want to make clear that the opposite is actually true. With the zoning that we're seeking, HMC 1, the allowances for building are more restrictive. You can't build as high, you can't build as intensively. There are setback requirements and open air requirements and all that stuff. So our hands would be tied in terms of how intensively we can build. And that's pretty much it. I just want to mention a few concerns that were brought up to me by neighbors who couldn't make it tonight, and then we can go from there. The first was one of our neighbors, Jackie, I'm going to butcher her last name, Sumel. Maybe some of you know where she lives on Robertson. How do you say her last name? One of the two. Go ahead, Troy. Jackie's good peeps. She has a little house on Robertson between Annette and St. Bernard, has a little vacant lot next to her that she has kids over and, does a lot of neighborhood engagement and seems to be kind of a mover and shaker in the neighborhood. We've been knowing her for a year now and have had plenty of conversations with her in passing and have always been friendly. So I made sure to reach out to her personally to kind of get her take on what we were up to and her thoughts. And she was supportive for the most part, but she did have a few concerns, and she put them in email. So what I'll do is just kind of read through the email and then give you my replies by email so that she can be heard tonight. So she writes, "Let me begin with my excitement for the possibility of good coffee nearby. I am most concerned and would love to hear a little about your understanding of gentrification or how you intend to make this coffee shop an inclusive space for folks in this neighborhood who may not be able to pay $3.50 above for coffee, or if that matters at all to you." And so my reply was, "We've only begun scratching the surface in terms of menu development and pricing, etc. But we feel strongly about offering a coffee option at an entry-level price point that rivals McDonald's, about $1 for a 12-ounce coffee. I should note that this isn't some sort of charitable gesture or a nod to social justice, but rather a decision that we believe makes good business sense. We recognize that a large swath of our potential customer base will not be moved to spend $3.50 per coffee, so why make them go elsewhere for their caffeine fix when they can spend their money at our counter?" Her second question was, "What kind of hiring practices could you employ to empower folks from this neighborhood rather than exclude them from your beautiful family dream?" And my reply was, "We don't intend on doing any hiring, as I hope to be able to run the shop solo. Again, Rachel sort of already has her career, so I'd like to kind of make this happen by myself. If I can swing it, maybe that's willfully naive. Taking on an employee is a big responsibility, and I would have to experience an extended period of sustained, overwhelming demand before taking that leap. To answer your question, though, I believe in equal opportunity, so if and when the time does come to hire someone, I don't think I would be comfortable allowing an applicant's neighborhood of origin to inform my hiring decision any more than the color of their skin." And then her last point was, "My work is deeply rooted in racial justice, and all too often I have seen one person's dream unintentionally eclipse another. I've seen several projects who have hoped for success be incidentally and unintentionally exclusionary. What precautions would you be willing to make to ensure a different model than the disharmonizing, top-down, racially tone-deaf, quote, neighborhood improvement efforts?" And my reply was, "I'm at a bit of a loss on this one. I just want to sell coffee. People of all races and backgrounds enjoy coffee. People of all races and backgrounds will be welcome to enjoy our coffee. I don't have any specific solutions to abate the outcome you fear, other than to continue doing what we've been doing since we got this idea, to communicate openly about what we're up to with the people of various races and backgrounds who live nearby. The response so far has been overwhelmingly supportive. I even got a call Monday morning with words of encouragement from a longtime resident who actually dropped your name, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Gary Ruzan, and he told me he hopes the city will, quote, cut the red tape so that we can get this project off the ground. So those were her concerns, and those were my replies. The second concern was a gentleman, a neighbor just down the block from me, Willie. He lives in the purple house up the street, and I mow the lot next door to his house. And he was just concerned about parking. He's got one vehicle that he has off-street parking for, and then his second vehicle he parks on the street. So he just wanted to make sure he wasn't in a position where now he has to walk 2 blocks to get to his house every night. And so what I told him, and what I'll tell you, is I really don't think this is going to be the type of business that's like a destination where people are coming in cars to come to the coffee shop. What we're going for, and I think the reasonable expectation, is a neighborhood coffee shop for folks who live within walking distance and biking distance. And I mean, it's a very flattering idea that, you know, we would be so overwhelmed that there would be parking issues in the neighborhood, but I don't see that happening. We do own the properties next door that are vacant lots, so if push comes to shove, we could try to workshop, you know, to work some sort of off-street parking solution. But I don't think it's going to come to that. But those were the 2 concerns that were brought up to me. So that being said, if any of you have any questions at this time, or feedback or other concerns, Belinda. Well, so this is the first step. The second step is formally submitting our application to the city planners. The City Planning Commission staff does their review and their study and makes a recommendation to the City Planning Commissioners, who then hold a hearing where they take public comment, and then I imagine it takes a couple months before it actually goes before the City Council, and the City Council are the ones who have the final up or down vote. And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe 6 months I think would probably be optimistic, but I'm not holding my breath. And that's just to get rezoned. So then we'd have to actually.
Like operate.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I thought you meant timeline. I'm sorry about that. Well, right now, again, with the idea being that it's something that I could just kind of do by myself. We would just go for daytime hours, 7 to 3. I think is a sweet spot for a coffee shop. People, you know, getting up in the morning, headed to work, and then I don't know that there's any need to be open past 3 off the bat. That would be the initial hours, maybe 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, something like that, so I can have 2 days off. And then from there, you know, playing it by ear, seeing what kind of traction we get, and we can always extend the days of operation and hours of operation if we need to. I can tell you off the bat that we certainly, we're bound by certain hours of operation for a neighborhood business establishment. The latest we could be open, I think, is, I don't know off the top of my head, 10 or 11 p.m., I think, during the week. But I just don't see any reason why we'd ever need to be open that late. There's no need.
I go to bed early, and I would probably want everyone out.
Yeah, because again, we're going to be living upstairs, so, you know, please.
My name is Juanita Ellis. I live in the 1700 block of Hillary Street, and at the next corner, the 1800 block of Hillary, between St. Anthony and the next street up, Parker. There's a building right at that corner, and it was a restaurant years ago. And now, all of a sudden, there's construction and business going on there. And like I said, it was a restaurant at one time, years ago. So I don't know what's going on there. I tried to talk to the people who look like they just finished doing something with the roof line. And now, all of a sudden, it looks like business is going on there.
I'll be happy to fill you in on that.
Yeah.
Under that property.
Oh, you are? Okay. But I didn't know what was going on with that.
After they're done.
I didn't know what was going on with that.
That's why
That
we
was,
wanted to make sure we could let everybody know what was going
Okay.
on.
Because I didn't know what was going on with that. The guys didn't work.
Take care, gents. Thanks for stopping by. Was that called Two Sisters or something like that?
Two sisters.
Yeah. Someone was telling me
No,
about that.
7 sisters.
7 sisters,
Seven
okay.
sisters.
Yeah, Paul was going to get us filled in on that.
Yeah.
But I know that's going to be residential. I can tell you that much.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's gonna be residential.
But that's a good example of a historically commercial building that if Paulo had
Yeah,
wanted to, he could have had it. Yeah.
Commercial at one time,
Right.
and now, like I said, it's gonna be residential. I didn't know. And the guy that stays next door to me, he was asking me, and I told him, I said, Louis, I don't know. I don't know. I said, I'm the oldest one in that block, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We just have to wait and see a little.
It's going to look nice too. Paul will show you the renderings. It's impressive. Chris?
Do you have a date for, is there a date of a hearing with the planning commission yet?
They'll give me the date once they've done their study, I believe.
Okay.
So once they take in all the information, so I'll probably submit my application formally tomorrow or by the end of the week. After they do their study, you get on the docket to be heard by the city planning
And
commissioners.
is there a way that we could send in a message to the planning commission without actually attending the meeting?
You just want the best of
in
both worlds.
support, or
You want to have your cake and eat
God
it too.
forbid, God forbid that we, opposed it.
Right.
I mean, just express an opinion without having attending.
I mean, I think you would still need to have someone read it.
Could we send them to you? Could we send a letter of support to you? Would that help you in your?
Oh, sure.
case if we
Yeah, oh, yeah,
supported the
absolutely.
project?
I mean, really, the more official and legit you can make your support, I think the better. So it's always good to have things in writing. And, after the city planning commission meeting, I hope to be able to have a one-on-one with our city council person, city council member Ramsey, and sort of get her take and hopefully get her support as well. These rezonings can be controversial sometimes because even though we want to do a coffee shop and maybe we're good stewards, once it's zoned, that zoning is forever. So, someone else could come in 20 years from now and maybe do something different. Luckily, this zoning is the least intensive commercial zoning, so the permitted uses are pretty restrictive in terms of what you can do with that zoning. It's limited to restaurants, barber shop, coffee shop, just very low intensity neighborhood style businesses.
Can I just ask,
Connie.
of course, there would be no alcohol license involved.
That's right.
So
That's a good point.
anybody that would want to ramp it up, let's say 20 years from now, whatever, would have to get the permission anyway.
Yes,
There is
alcohol
no
is,
get their own.
so alcohol is what's called a conditional use
Right.
for this zoning. So if someone did want to sell alcohol on premise, they would have to go through this process all over again,
Yeah.
do a neighborhood participation,
Okay.
have the city planning commission and city council vote up or down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Or,
Corner exactly, or
the property is, are you good with cardinal directions? Okay. I know cardinal directions are a cardinal
What
sin in the city.
intersection?
Annette and Robertson.
Yeah,
Oh,
Annette and Robertson,
it's on
the
Robertson?
southeast corner.
Southeast Robertson and that.
North Robertson and Annette on the southeast corner. Yeah,
Downriver, Riverside.
downriver
There you go,
Riverside
Donna.
corner.
Those are the directions
I don't think that's ever going to grow on it. Any other questions or would anyone? Yeah, please, Eugene.
Yeah, my name is Eugene Richardson. My mother owns a house down there in this time. And I'm retired truck driver. My concern of you for business, I want to support it most of, but my most concern is crime around this neighborhood. When you get your business on the road, I won't be one of the supporters that help make sure that we don't have the crime like we have now. Between these, from St. Bernard to 2 blocks down, we got a lot of crime for the last few years, especially with dope, killing, and that's the main thing we know. And there ain't no older person like one of us in the world. It's all these youngsters out there.
Right.
And it's bad now. And it's a lot of crime. And it's ridiculous. And you know for yourself that you can walk around and see.
Right.
And that's most my concern of you and your family.
Well, Yeah, and I'm not an expert when it comes to this stuff. My guess is that with vacant lots being developed into occupied structures, the crime probably trends downward from that, where it's having these vacant lots, having these places where people can maybe hide out and do dope in the corner or whatever that is the nuisance. Once you build something, maybe those folks go somewhere else, which I know is another concern, but.
The guy that owned that lot right there on Claiborne, on St. Bernard and Robinson, he run that ball on around the corner.
Glen Amity?
Yes. My mother helped him to buy that lot. He had a meeting just like you had.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people didn't want him to have it because what he wanted on that lot is a comedian club.
That's right.
And he's going to build 2 floors of it and he don't want to have that. But they didn't want to let it, but she was one of the ones that hold it in there. She said, we need businesses like that in the neighborhood because a lot of youngsters can help them to work in these places, even to be a comedian. A lot of them that come from the ghetto come in these places and work their way up to them.
Right.
And that's the main thing I'm trying to your business. I want to see you do good and I'm going to support it 100%, whatever we can do. The man decided is crime, these youngsters now, before you can build your business good, there's someone there tearing it down. And doing the crime they're doing. Too many of these youngsters around there. And I don't have to say it, 80% is black. They're smoking crack. They go in the people's yard. Not too long ago, I put 2 locks on one side of that I live on. My sister lives on the other side to pick them out. They done broke the gate to go through the yard because they could see the police when they're selling the crack. They can have a place to run and hide. So I'm going to put locks and chains on both sides, but I'm going to have to get a bigger dog in my yard for they want to do.
Right. Right now, the property isn't gated or anything like that, or fenced in.
Yeah.
But
Cameras,
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, what's the name? There's some sort of
NOLA
NOLA crime where they hook into their cameras.
Cameras, you can sync in with them.
Right.
Needed it from here, and I don't know, it's just been no one to get it. Yeah. We have
In the Marinade, we got a lot of NOLA.
Troy.
Definitely.
Earlier, I heard you say you're gonna start off with the business running yourself. If you do get good business, are you planning on hiring a community?
My preference would be to hire a resident of the neighborhood, just because honestly, I think if you live closer to work, you're less likely to be late or run into car troubles or that type of thing. So it definitely makes sense to hire somebody nearby. If it comes to that stage, absolutely. I touched on in Jackie's email, I think her words were someone from the community. I don't know if she meant like actually being born and raised here was that going to be a pre-qualification for employment? And that's not something I'm comfortable with. I think you can come from any neighborhood and work at our coffee shop. But definitely if you live here, I mean, the closer you can live to, I'll be on you. I mean, if you live next door, that's just, that much closer. You could be nearby and it's a beautiful thing.
I think that since there are several corners that are probably available for future construction or to change into something else like you're trying to do, it's really a great thing. I mean, I recently, like a year ago, met Larry and his wife Shirley.
Yeah.
They've been here like 50 years or so. I think if we had more mom and pop shops on corners, either coffee shops or a pizza place or anything that would make the community have little places they can go to. Having a place on every corner is a great thing. We live in the Marion Triangle, and after Katrina, we used to love that restaurant they had on the corner called the Bank. Well, the guy got fed up after Katrina. That building sat vacant for like 2 years. There was no movement on the corner. It became a dangerous spot.
Yeah.
There were
People
no more police patrols, but now that it's the Ruby Sliver, things have improved. So it's really good to have something on the corner. It's going to be commercial. I think it helps the neighborhood a lot.
And Ruby Slipper is like you guys, like they shut down 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's it. Unfortunately, there's no activity at night, but at least there is.
There's movement,
Still the
people-
cameras and everything.
Well, I'm glad you said that because this would be a good opportunity to mention this. Many of you might not be aware, but with the master plan that was adopted only a few years ago, in this neighborhood, we enjoy what's called an overlay district, our special zoning, which allows for the return of historically commercial properties to commerce. The stipulation is the building still needs to be standing, which is why we're not eligible. But, I mean, just about every other building on a corner in this neighborhood was at one point historic. I mean, you can tell when a building was historic, it's got that corner entrance and the windows and stuff. So that's all it takes. So if you know anyone who owns one of those buildings, it's something they should know. Yeah, I know, right? It's something they should know. They have a much more streamlined pathway to put something and to get something going there. It doesn't need to be residential, even though we're zoned residential. They can be commercial without going through the rezoning process.
There's a place up the street on St. Anthony that they tore down right close to the facade.
That's right.
What's gonna happen there?
That was complete.
Yeah.
Hopefully something nice happens on that point.
Mr. Alphonse Martin. His plan was actually to just rebuild a single-family home, but he did leave that facade. So to me, my suspicion is he might have done that to sort of keep 1 foot, so that if he changes his mind, he has that pathway to get. You know what I mean? He gets grandfathered in because the facade is still standing. So maybe that's what his thinking is. I'm not sure.
I think in some of these areas, it's more or less of a historical thing to leave the front. That's what it is more or less.
So you're saying it's not that he necessarily wants to go commercial. He just wants to keep the front for when he builds a house.
It's a historical
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Because they told me I can't change my side.
Right. Cool.
That's what they told me. I can't change my side, but they're not gonna give me no money to do nothing to my side.
Right. All right.
Historical.
Nice. Yes, Mr. Garrett.
For the jacket addressing identification, I've been in this neighborhood over 63 years. And it was always a mixed neighborhood. Always big. I don't know what happened with it. Commercial and residential, always a mixed neighborhood. Always. And your hands on working restaurants with that, I think maybe when it comes about the hiring people, maybe you consider the young people part-time.
I think that's the way we would go.
Right.
That's exactly what we're thinking. Part-time students. That's the way my parents did it. You know.
I hope you consider that. But like I said, this area has always been commercial and residential. I don't know if the historic association comes into play with the city. I think they override the city on the historic mall place. The city kind of passed away when the historic association takes place. What colors can we paint it? Is that something like that? So in the future, I know you're probably going to get a computer graphic what they look like. Maybe the next meeting you might show us,
Right.
computer graphic, just what it's going to look like.
Absolutely.
Structure.
And this has been sort of a chicken or the egg thing for us, where as tempted as we are to commission all of these architectural grade renderings and show them to all of you, we sort of want to wait till we know that the zoning is going to go through before we make that commitment, because it can get expensive. Which is why I made sure to say, look, what we're trying to build is very much a building that you've all seen. As far as the HDLC and the historic stuff, the border for that is actually just a couple blocks down, so we just missed it. So it's nice. We have the luxury of having a little bit more freedom with what we build, but we very much want to build something that's in keeping stylistically with what's already here. We're not trying to do anything really modern or anything like that.
We
So ruffling
moved
feathers.
here for a lot of reasons, and one of them was the beautiful architecture. So
Yeah.
we're really excited to build something that looks like a lot of places.
I'll just interject something. Our last 4 projects were all under the HDLC. The HDLC loves its modern boxes. I'll be honest with you.
Huh.
They love, like, oh yeah, go ahead, if it's a lot. You can go all over in the Bywater and the Marinade. Look at these boxes that they did. So, they like the juxtaposition of things. So under HDLC doesn't necessarily mean that it'll look like the neighborhood. That's all I'm saying.
No,
I'm
that's-
not for or
that's
against
good.
it. That's all I'm
They're very
saying.
strict if you're remodeling a historic house.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're building from
Then-
scratch,
Then you have to, you cannot modify or alter the side of the house.
But
at
from
all.
the ground up,
But if you're starting from an empty lot,
They
you
love
can build a
those big
temporary Los
boxes.
Angeles
they love
looking
them.
square box with balconies and glass, whatever,
Oh.
just like they did on Burgundy. A couple that turned that, once upon a time, it was
It was
a
a dry
a
cleaner,
dry cleaner or something.
commercial
You know,
cleaner.
cinder block, ugly building, and they did a beautiful job. It's a husband and wife architect. It looks like it in Los Angeles. And it
Gotcha.
fits in between two old houses.
all
But
right, well, that's
the
good to
point
know.
is HDLC doesn't guarantee it looks like the neighborhood. That was
Gotcha. Helen.
Yeah, I was just gonna support that and say that I think the idea is that new stuff should look new and old stuff should look old.
Yeah, we've had this dilemma, you know, I don't know. I guess we still have to hash it out a little bit.
Well, we'll be talking to an architect.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground of not faking it, you know, but doing something. Actually, Cindy Torres has a recent project that is on St. Claude and Felicity, or St. Music maybe, I don't know. It's right across the street from the subway. Yeah,
Yeah.
right across the street from the subway, on the same side as St. Claude as the subway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's basically a new construction. I mean, I think he might have nominally kept the beams and stuff, but it's new and it looks historic. But you know, I don't know. It's in this sweet spot that I like. So I think we can hopefully do something similar. Ian, welcome. How you doing? Not much. Okay. Well, I know that we've got the actual neighborhood meeting after this. So would anyone else like to chime in or have any concerns before we wrap this up?
Supported.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
we're-
Oh, we'll, again, feel free to leave your contact info on the sign-in sheet, and we'll keep you all posted. And if any of you who are supportive are free during the days, that's usually when these hearings, or that's always when these hearings happen, the City Planning Commission meeting and the City Council meeting. So if you can come, speak in support, great.
Email
Let me know,
invite.
because I'm
Okay.
usually available.
Okay, great. And then, you know, if you want to put something in writing, we can read your letters or at least submit it in the file or something like that, so and I can present it to Council Member Ramsey so that she can have it and know that the community backs it, you know, and all that good stuff.
Support it. I know my email and everything.
Okay, perfect.
Want contact?
Okay. Yeah. I'll go ahead and reach out to everyone after this
I'm on
meeting.
top of the list.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Eugene. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much. And if any of you are interested, you can stick around for the neighborhood meeting. If not, have a good night.